mob, but when I got home, mucking about like, and I got word for Bobby Rankin, he was the manager at that time, if I'd come through. So he took me out in the park. I'd done all boots with bars on them, and he lined the ball up at the penalty spot. He says, now have a go. And something in the goal. The goalkeeper never saw it, like, went in like a bullet, you know. So he's right, that'll do. Up the stair, and they had my sign on, like, you know.
Lapsley became part of a settled St Mirren defence. At right half was Jimmy Drinkwater, someone for whom Davy Lapsley had a profound admiration.
Yeah, Drinky was a great player. In my opinion, like, Drinky used to play right half in front of me, and I used to kill them before I got to them, like, you know. I mean, Drinky was a hard man. He wasn't dirty, but very strong in the tackle. And he was only, I would say, about 11 stone something, like, you know.
Another Love Street stalwart who struck terror into the hearts of the opposition was left-back Davy Lindsay, affectionately known as Killer.
When you met the opposition that you were playing before the game started, the outside right usually asked, is Lindsay playing? And I don't think it'll be the first well-known player that when Lindsay was playing decided that that I pulled muscle or something. It was quick and hard, and a combination of Lindsay and Drinkwater. It was difficult to play against him, I would think.
By the mid-1950s, a fine half-back line of Nielsen, Telfer and Holmes formed the powerhouse of a side that got to Hampden in 1955 for the League Cup final against Aberdeen.
Paddy Buckley kicked off for Aberdeen in the League Cup final at Hampden Park against St Mirren, wearing striped shirts. This is Aberdeen's third final, and they were hot favourites. St Mirren have never reached this exalted stage before, but much to everybody's surprise, there was no score in the first half. After the interval, however, the Dons began a sparkling offensive. Within 2 minutes, a high cross from Hayther bounced off Mallon into the net. The Paisley boys had lost their stage fright, and they swarmed round the Dons' goal area, determined to bring off that equaliser. It came 12 minutes later from Bobby Holmes. Well done, Saints! But Aberdeen had the answer in Graham Leggett. In the net and in the bag, as skipper Mitchell received the trophy.
In the mid-1950s, one of Scotland's great players, Bobby Flavel, had a period at Love Street as player, coach and later manager. But real success for Paisley had to await the side of 1959, which was to win the Scottish Cup final when it defeated Aberdeen. It was a well-balanced, blended side. In goal was Dave Walker, secured from Airdrieonians. John Cockles-Wilson, most redoubtable of fullbacks. McGugan and Leishman, who with Jackie Nielsen made up the half-back line. Outside right, Jim Roger, powerful and pacey. Tommy Bryceland, tricky, entertaining, signed from Gourock Juniors. Saints American, Jerry Baker, a prolific goalscorer and an internationalist. And the left-wing partnership of Alistair Miller in the wing, and inside him, the elegant Tommy Gemmell.
Gemmell was a classy player. He was only, Tom was too quiet. If he had have had the same devilment as Tom Bryceland, he'd been a great player. He was a good player, mind you. Tom was a great passer of ball. Bryceland was a cheeky player, good player, cheeky, very cheeky. But I mind one day, now Baxter was with Raith Rovers at the time, and wee Tom put it through his legs, not once, but it must have been a dozen times during the game, like, you know. Tom was awfully cheeky. Great wee player too, you know. Alistair, it was Alistair's semi-final, like, you know. I reckon Alistair won the semi-final. Alistair scored the first 2 goals, like, you know. Played brilliant. First of all, we met Peebles Rovers in the first round. And I says to the manager, Willie Reid, what's like the bonus tonight, boss, you know. Willie says, well, I'll put you on that 10 bob at that time, 50 pence now, 50 pence a goal, like, you know. So I tell the boys, I say, score as many as you can, the more the better. We're on 10 bob a goal, like, you know. So the boys rattled on 10, so that was a £5 bonus we got on top of your wages. But the wages was only sweeties at that time, like, you know.
Dunfermline and Motherwell bit the dust, and it was Celtic in the semi-final.
In the vast setting of Hampden Park, there seemed every promise of a vintage semi-final. Cutting in, outside left Miller took a pass from Roger and put the ball out behind his head. Goal for the Saints. Alistair Miller was on the Saints' warpath again. Trying to narrow the angle, Frank Haffey came out to meet him, but the ball rolled in. This wasn't at all what the mighty Celtic had expected. They couldn't cope with the tricky swirl of the wind. Foul here against Celtic. Baker beat Haffey, and it was 3-0 for St Mirren at half-time. Even after the interval, there was no stopping St Mirren. Almost on time, Bryceland scored goal number 4 for the Saints. What a victory for St Mirren!
We always thought we had chances because we could score goals. You know, we could create goals and score against them. Funny enough, we played Celtic on the Monday night before that, previous to that game. Love Street, and I think we get beat about 6-2 or something like that. So we played on the Saturday. Obviously, Celtic must have thought this is, you know, just have to go into the park and that's it, you know. But we played well and we deserved to win at the end up. It could have been more, as it turned out.
We were pretty confident, but it was pretty windy, remember that, Tommy? And we
we
were playing against the wind. In the first half, we thought that might affect, could affect the result against the wind, but it worked in our favour, of course, by the half-time.
And so to the final. And in front of 108,000 people, St Mirren took on Aberdeen.
The Saints are in striped shirts. 100,000 crowded Hampden Park, hoping for a classic exhibition to decide possession of the coveted trophy. Only 2 minutes before the interval, Saints outside left, Alistair Miller centred. Inside right, Tommy Bryceland headed a goal. 20 minutes after the resumption, St Mirren scored again. Outside left, Miller just had to tap it into the net. On the attack again, St Mirren weren't relying on their 2-goal lead. They were bent on increasing it. Lucky escape here for Aberdeen, but not for long. Saints centre forward Jerry Baker shot goal number 3. Hugh Baird got a consolation goal for Aberdeen almost as the final whistle blew.
When Jack Mowat did blow the final whistle, the roar could have been heard at Paisley Cross. Saints fans swarmed onto the field and carried off David Lapsley shoulder high from his last professional football match. There was the usual presentation of the cup, of course, to the victorious skipper. But on this very special day, there was one more curious ceremony.
This is the moment that every St Mirren supporter in Paisley knows about, the opening of the famous whisky bottle. How do you feel about it, Davy? Excited?
No, not excited, but I'm quite well pleased, and I'm pleased that it's...
Over here, Davy, just let's have a look at it. That's the thing. Out it comes now.
I'm pleased that it's Davy Lapsley. It's going to have the first...
Well,
drink.
Davy Lapsley, the St Mirren skipper, the man who said he's finishing with football at the end of the season, is going to take the first drink of whisky from just a wee tot, says Davy. There you are, just a spot. Very nice.
Well, here's all the best, Dave. All the best, Arthur.
Thank you, Davy.
I'm pleased to drink this little drop, you know, and on the occasion St Mirren win the cup. I hope they win the league next year.
Thank you, Dave.
Winning the cup had been hard enough, but getting out of the team bus at Paisley was infinitely harder. But eventually David Lapsley and Cup made it to the balcony of the municipal buildings.
Who was it that won the cup? Who took Aberdeen down?
Well, I'd like to thank you all for your faithful support, and I think the best team won the Scottish Cup.
Fantastic, great night for Paisley. Paisley people love the cup runs, you know, they seem to go for the cup rather than the league, but I think the whole in Paisley had a wee drink that night, I would say.
There was a lot to celebrate. Paisley Pirates were champions of the British Ice Hockey League. It was a very good year. In the harsh winter of the following year, Jerry Baker was hitting the kind of form that made it certain that he would be the magnet for many English clubs. One fixture in particular made it inevitable that he would soon go to England.
You go back, I think, till 1960. I think it was the